Nothing harshes the vibe of going on a beautiful vacation and then returning home to a house full of wilted or dead plants. It is a nightmare, and believe me, I've been there. Over the last 8 years of plant parenthood, I've also figured out how to successfully leave my plants for weeks on end without having fear of dying plants when to welcome my return. So this video is all about helping you do the same. Growing joy. Hi plant friends, I'm Maria and I'm here to help you care for plants and grow joy. And I don't know about you, something that wasn't joyful was when I went on my honeymoon and I had nightmares about coming home to dead plants. It was a 2-week vacation. I was so nervous that my plants were all gonna be dead when I got home, and it kind of ruined a moment in my honeymoon when I had this kind of panic attack about it. I don't know if that makes me crazy. I don't know if that just makes me a good plant parent, but I've also now figured out how to go on a vacation and not be stressed about plants and not have that stressful moment on vacation or the stressful moment of coming home to dead plants after. I will never forget probably one of the cringiest moments of plant parenthood in the first year of caring for plants. I went on a vacation. I came home, all of my plants were wilted and almost dead, and it was because when I left, I didn't know that the AC was gonna kick off. It got 90 degrees in my house and my plants almost suffocated. To be a young plant parent and not know what you're doing. But this video is to help you know what you're doing. So we're gonna go over everything you need to know about going on vacation with your plants. We're gonna figure out what to do if you're not gonna hire a plant sitter and when you need to hire a plant sitter, and if you're going to hire a plant sitter, what you need to know about hiring one. First, when it comes to vacation plant care, you need to know what I call your magic vacation number. And this is gonna vary from person to person. So in this video, it's the only thing that I can't decide for you, but it's the number of days that you can leave your apartment or your home and not worry about your plants. Depending on what type of plants you have, that will vary. For me, my magic vacation number is 10 days. I have mostly low maintenance plants. I know that they can go for 10 days without getting a water after taking some precautionary measures that I'll walk you through in a minute and be okay. If you are a mindful plant parent and you have more like ferns and calatheas and moisture loving plants, that number might be more like 4 or 5, like a long weekend for you. Or if you're someone who only has snake plants and ZZ plants, that might be weeks on end, right? So figure out what your plant vacation number is based on your plant collection, and let's move into the rest of the video. All right, so this video is going to be in 2 parts. Number 1, we'll discuss a bunch of precautionary measures that you can take so that you don't have to hire a plant sitter if you're under or up to that magic number. And the second half will be everything you need to know about dealing with a plant sitter. So part 1, you're taking a vacation and you know what your number is. I'm going to move through this video with my number 10. Your plants will likely be fine, even if you don't take these precautionary measures. But to ensure that your plants are gonna be fine, do these things before you leave and then don't worry about your plants. So number 1, right before I go on a vacation, I am going to deep water all of my plants. I'm gonna take a bunch of them probably to the sink in case any plants maybe have some hydrophobic soil. Maybe this is when I might bottom water some plants, but I'm gonna make sure that all of my plants have really thoroughly saturated soil, not wet feet, but we're gonna make sure that the soil gets fully saturated, and then I put them back. So you're gonna wanna give your plants a deep water so that they really have that nice moist soil to kind of live off until you get home again. Number 2, pull plants away from the window, particularly if you're in the Northeast and you're traveling in the holidays. When you're gone from the holidays, like between Thanksgiving and Christmas, usually that's when cold snaps start, right? So if all of your plants are in your windowsill and all of a sudden those plants get some cold gusts of air through the cracks, right? If it's a drafty windowsill, that's where you're gonna see a lot of shock. So pull your plants from the windowsill, number 1, for that reason. And number 2, it's just a little gentler. If you have a windowsill where they're getting direct light, it'll just slow them down a little bit. So pull your plants away from the windowsill and then group your plants. Some people do this and some people don't, because some people say, don't group your plants, they might all get pests. I take the risk, but normally when I travel for my 10-day trip, this is what I do. I have my dining room table. I put a trash bag that I cut open on my dining room table, and I put almost all of my houseplants on the dining room table. This groups them together. Some would say it creates a microclimate that they're happier. I always am so annoyed that when I do this and I go on my vacation and I stress about my plants and I come back, most of the time they're like blooming for the first time, like they've never been better. So they seem to really enjoy being grouped together. So deep water, pull your plants away from the window, group them if you can. Oh, I forgot this one. And this applies to this and the plant sitter. Prune your plants before you leave, not to like prune them to instigate growth, but this is why I think this is important, and I'm going to show you what I do. So this plant that I have, it's a night blooming cereus, oxypalatum. I don't remember the plant Latin. This plant has some browning leaves, right? Just because I've kind of neglected it a little bit. If I was to come home, so I leave this plant with some of its brown leaves. I go on my vacation. I come home. I see the brown leaves. I might not remember what leaf was already brown and what leaf might have browned, or like if there was an issue that happened while I was gone. So what I do before I leave is I try and clean up all my plants so there's no browning at all. Clip, clip. Number one, like this is just a good practice to do so my plant doesn't have any yucky brown leaves. Plants like this that only have the brown tips, I will just cut the brown off so I know if they continue to brown. This one I might like cut this little brown section off, but I'll leave most of the leaf on it. So now that I've cleaned him up, I know that if I was to come back from vacation and I see browning leaves or yellow leaves, I know that those leaves happened while I was on vacation, and I can be kind of signaled to keep a really close eye on this plant and do whatever I need to do to rectify it, right? So I just have found that's just like a personal practice I do to help ease my stress when I come back. Okay, so another thing that people struggle with on this up to your magic number is say I'm leaving for 7 to 10 days, I'll do this. This has been a simple trick that I started doing for a vacation that I went on, and I've loved it so much that I actually just do it with my houseplants now because I'm more of a low maintenance houseplant parent now. I take sphagnum moss, and this is used. I just keep reusing this stuff. I put it in Ziploc bags when I'm not using it. I take damp sphagnum moss, and after I do that deep watering that I talked about, I will tuck sphagnum moss on top of all of the soil. This helps the soil not dry out just a little bit more, and it will extend that watering for a few extra days, I have found. Like I said, now most of my plants just have sphagnum moss on top of them because it just helps me not have to water as much, and I find that that really helps. If you're a low maintenance plant parent, or if you're someone that travels a lot, getting self-watering planters and just having your plants in self-watering planters is great, but I wouldn't say like get self-watering planters and repot all of your plants into self-watering planters just for one trick. That feels crazy, but there are two different ways that I say they're like plant babysitters that you could do. So number one, you've probably seen these in the garden center before. They're watering orbs. They make glass ones. I also have, if you've watched other videos, like a really cute ceramic mushroom that you fill with water. There's a terracotta spike. Basically, you fill this with water. You flip it upside down, you jam it into the soil, and then this will slowly release water into the soil over a period of time. Now, don't use this for the first time before you go on vacation because you have to figure out how long this takes to empty in your plant, but these can be really helpful for prolonging that water. And then you can also make yourself a DIY self-watering planter. And the way that you do that is with some cotton cord. This is baking string from my husband that I stole, and a glass of water. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get the string really damp. Then I'm going to take, let's see, who do I want to do this with? I'll do this with this one. So now I'm going to make just little ridges in the soil of this little planter that I have. I'm going to put one side of the cord in water. The cord will wick the water up on this side. Then I'm going to take the cord and wind it throughout the plant and tuck it into the soil. This will then be damp. Oops. This cord could probably be much shorter. But anyway, I'm gonna tuck this damp cord into the soil. It will pull water and kind of release water into the soil. This is also how a self-watering pot works. You're basically just doing it for yourself. But essentially it's kind of the same. It's like the moss trick, but a way to keep the moss always moist, if that makes sense. So these are different ways that you can kind of make little plant babysitters for your plants without having to pay someone. Now, let's talk about if you go over your number. So for me, if it's a trip over 10 days, you have two options. Number one, you can do all of the precautionary measures that we took, say a prayer, go on your vacation, and just be prepared to come home to either sad plants or dead plants. Maybe you even factor that into your vacation budget. Or you really are going to need to hire a plant sitter or arrange for someone to come into your house and water your plants while you're gone. So with plant sitters, I have had successful experiences with plant sitters and I have had unsuccessful experience with plant sitters. And I kind of want to walk you through the pitfalls to avoid. So when we talk about plant sitters, that's literally just someone who's going to babysit your plants. They're going to come in once a week or whenever you feel like you need them to come in, water your plants, maybe send you some pictures and come home. They're great. Most people ask their friends or family or neighbors to come in and water your plants for free because it's easy and it's just asking a neighbor a favor. This is a great option. However, if you do use this option and you don't pay someone, just be prepared that if they don't know how to water plants, if they're not a plant person and they're just your neighbor, they might overwater plants. I had a friend come and water my plants once when I was gone. She overwatered plants because she didn't quite understand how to care for plants, and a bunch of my plants died of overwatering, and it was a real bummer. Now, you can ask a plant friend if you have a local plant friend come over and maybe you guys just exchange that service for each other. Or you could look into just paying someone. You can pay them an hourly rate like you would pay a dog walker or you would pay a babysitter. They come in for 30 minutes to an hour once a week, once every 2 weeks, up to whatever that number is. Water your plants. They have to take your instructions and go. So if you want to hire a plant sitter, most of your local plant shops probably offer this service. And if they don't offer the service, they probably know someone who does. So I would highly recommend going through that, but finding someone vetted who you trust to come into your home while you're gone. So when you've got your plant sitter, whether it's someone that you hire or whether it's a family or friend or neighbor that is going to come over, the most important thing is making sure that they're educated and that they understand what they're doing. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. With my existing plant sitter, I will take a video of my plants, show them how to water if there's a plant in a cache pot, right? Being like, hey, just know that this is a planter sitting in this pot. Please don't overwater it because there's nowhere for the water to go, right? Some people have elaborate spreadsheets that they will, give instructions. When I went on tour with Cats the Musical a couple of years ago and I left my husband with all of the plants, he had to take care of my plants for a year. I made color-coded little flags that I put in all of my pots. On one side, I put the name of the plant, and on the other side, it was the watering frequency. So the pink flags, were supposed to get watered once a week. The blue flags were supposed to get watered, once a month. So you can easily do that with Post-its, like cut up some Post-its and stick them on all your plants. So your plant sitter knows, okay, if it's blue, it's getting watered once in this period of time that you're gone. If it's pink, it's getting watered every time the plant sitter comes to visit. But just make sure that you're organized and that you give them these visual cues so that they know what's going on. Another thing to do with your plant sitters, and I think this is just like a conscientious thing to do, but put all your plants in one area. Don't make your plant sitter walk all over unless you're paying them a lot of money. Especially if this is a neighbor that's coming over and doing this for free, put your plants in one area, like I said before, with those precautionary measures, because then they're not going to miss a plant, right? So if you only have a couple of plants in your bathroom, the plant sitter comes over, they're in all of your common space, they water your plants, they forget those bathroom plants might dry out accidentally, right? So make it super easy and also give them thorough instructions. All of the plants are on this table. The watering can is next to the table. This is where you fill the watering can up. Just make it as simple as humanly possible for them. And then when they come, ask them to send you pictures. That was always really nice when I had plant sitters come over. They would text me a picture of the plant. Usually the plants look great, but there was one situation where one of the plants wasn't doing good. She texted me a photo being like, hey, I don't know what's going on with this. Do you want me to do anything? We were able to troubleshoot a little bit. So it's like a relief, but also it's a nice way that you can just troubleshoot in real time and not come home to kind of a disaster in the end. And then you come home to your happy plants, you put them back in their windowsills, you understand that, they might need to adjust once you're home. But for the most part, that's pretty much it. Leaving for vacation should be fun and not stressful. I hope that these tips have helped you. Make sure that you're organized. And also, I think you will be shocked at how happy your plants are when you leave. We think that, they need so much from us, and they do. They do need a lot from us. Obviously, we're their caretakers, but I'm always shocked at how happy my plants are when I come home after being gone for a long time. If I missed any tips, let me know what they are in the comments. I'd love to hear what you do. I've recently been seeing online this trend of people like putting all their plants in Ziploc bags. I thought that's been cool, but I haven't done it before, so I don't want to recommend it. But if that's something you've done, let me know. Let me know all of your other tips in the comments. Like, subscribe. I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a fabulous vacation wherever you're going. Happy holidays if you're watching this right before you travel for the holidays. And until next time, I hope you keep growing joy.